AI, mental health.
Yeah, we're just gonna
Mental
see where
health.
this
As if
takes
we
us.
have any mental health.
Right, like we
I'm going to
have
share
expertise
tips
to
with
be
you
talking
about
about
mental
this.
health because I've observed
Because
mentally healthy
obviously
people.
we're experts. Like we don't
I'm an
have any
expert
mental
in
health
that
issues.
field.
Welcome to Pros Talking Pros, everybody. You are joining Troy and myself, Stacey, on a another hopefully nice Saturday. Things are crazy in the world today, so I hope everybody's well and healthy and safe. We are going to be kind of discussing a few things about we're coming into the fall season of conferences, and there's a few things that kind of have been weighing heavily on my mind over the weekend, and then Troy's just getting back from a really exciting adventure in Texas.
Intense adventure.
Yeah,
Yes.
with one of our clients, and it was really great. That it's great that he's back in town, and we're only here for a few more
Oh,
days until we
yes.
go to Killer Nashville next week. But this week. But I'm really excited. So we may not be with you live today, and we apologize for that. But it's because we are in Nashville, Tennessee at a conference. Maybe we can get it up on a monitor and have it playing while we're sitting at our table.
Ooh,
That would be kind of
we
fun.
can. I can bring my screen,
Do you want to do
maybe.
that? Okay,
Yeah.
let's try. What so we'll see
Okay.
if we're in the comments. We'll see if we're in the comments with you guys. We really do like hanging out with you guys on Saturdays. It's fun. Um anyway, so a couple things that we wanted to first address. Troy and I are wearing some
Oh,
amazing
yeah.
shirts today.
Hang on.
See?
I got to get out
Hold
from
on.
behind this microphone. There we go.
See? There we go.
By the way, if you're listening to this, we're
We're
sorry that you
yeah.
can't see it.
You can't see them, but there are these
But
t-shirts that
by the way,
I had.
Apple Podcasts is now, I mean, yeah, Apple Podcasts is now having video podcasts as well. So I don't know if we'll be able
Oh,
to transition to
nice.
that,
We'll
but
see if we can
Apple Podcasts and
transition.
a couple other ones are starting to add the element of video if you want to watch it
Well,
at the
that will
same
be
time that you
cool.
listen. So we'll see what
That'll be
happens. I
cool.
don't know.
But anyway,
Yeah.
so those of you who are not watching but are listening, we have black t-shirts on that have on the front they say, I choose progress over perfection. I show up, I do the work. These are our Wayfinder Summit t-shirts. On the sleeve they've got the
Oh,
Wayfinder Summit
yes.
logo, 2026 Writers Retreat. And if you're interested in joining us, we are very excited about holding this retreat this October. It's October 15th through 17th. We are not holding your feet to the fire. If you can only pop in every so often or during different sessions or just on 2 days and not all 3 days, that's not a problem. I've had a few people ask, do I have to go the whole time? No, you don't. The reason that this retreat is designed the way it is specifically for you to find those sessions and those times that work best for you so that you can actually focus on your project. And we understand that that means working around your everyday normal life. So we hope you can join us. It's only $30 minimum. It's it's pay what you want. Those of you who pay more, we really appreciate it because what that does is that sponsors other writers. It also helps pay for some of the perks and features that we've gotten. And we've picked up a few sponsors that are giving away some amazing little things. We've got a few more sponsors that are planning on coming on board. We're just working out, all the technical things in the background, but we've got
Logistical, technical details.
yeah, little details, but we are really happy to have partnered with Russell Nohelty of the Capitalist, and we have I am in talks right now with Tertulia. I'm happy to say that I think that we're gonna get things from Tertulia here pretty soon. We have things up for the Wordsmith writing coaches, and I have two or three others that we're emailing back and forth. Writers Weekly is also going to be on board. So I'm just
Yes.
getting some information from Writers
And
Weekly.
also for a few of you that have been asking, yes, there will be availability to book one-on-ones even after you buy
Yes.
your ticket. We're just in the
Yes.
process of adding some things, fixing some things to the website. You may have noticed We've been slightly busy.
We've been
But
slightly
anyway.
busy, but you can go on there and you can do those add-ons. When you log into the Hey Summit platform, up at the top right, you'll see that you can click tick for more tickets or something. You click on that and you'll
Yeah.
see that you'll have the add-ons
We'll do
there.
a
We'll
tutorial or
do a
something on that.
tutorial. Yeah, it'll
Yeah.
be pretty
Show you how to
easy.
do that.
But anyway, so we're very excited for those of you who have already signed up. We are the first 250 that sign up will get a mailed in physical form welcome kit. I will show that next week. I have them over in my other room all packed up, and I showed them to Holly, Troy's partner, yesterday, and she did this. Ooh, it was very satisfying.
Yeah. It was very
It was very
satisfying.
satisfying.
And by the way, I may need another sweatshirt because mine might have gone to her.
Oh, she stole your sweatshirt. Gotcha. Well, we have these awesome zipper hoodies as well
Zip
that
up
are embroidered.
sweatshirts. Oh, so
So if
nice.
you want a zipper hoodie, which are my favorites, I love zippy hoodies, but I'll model Troy and I'll model the goods and we'll put it on
We'll
the
film a
website.
fashion, like a
Yeah.
catwalk fashion show and show you what all the merch looks like. It'll
Right.
be great.
It'll be
Because
fun.
I'm sure what you all want to see is me on the catwalk. I'm positive of it.
I'm gonna make sure I'm too sexy by right said Fred is playing at the same time that
Yeah,
you're doing your catwalk. It'll be
exactly.
fun. Yeah.
It'll be perfect.
Anyway, so I'm really excited about it. If you guys are interested, you can check it out at wayfindersummit.com, and I will have the description or the link in the description below. But aside from that, that's one of the reasons why we're segueing into this mental health situation, because one of the reasons why Troy and I wanted to do this writers retreat was specifically so that authors felt like they could be with people like them that are working on the same like level or even higher levels, but feel like they're all on the same
Hmm.
page levelly, not levelly, but what am I trying to say? Everybody's just kind of on the same page. And
Hmm.
I think that that's one thing that writers conferences do well, especially that's why one of the reasons why Troy and I like to go is because when you're sitting down on a couch next to like these amazing authors, they are just people and they're just normal people that
Hmm.
are just there that are there for the same reason you are, and that's to learn and to kind of meet and kind of congregate with friends. So
Well, and
go ahead.
as we segue into that, I just want to talk about this past week, I was in Dallas and traveling and all that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
and I was able to meet up with one of our clients, and it was actually pretty cool because I was able to chat with her about writers conference because we were talking about writers
Mhm.
conferences in her local area, and she said, well, they some of them seemed kind of pretentious
Mm.
by looking at their website and stuff, and I'm like. Yeah, let me just tell you stories, right? There are
Mhm.
times when I've sat down with people that many of you on the listening to this podcast would know their names. You would consider them to be famous as far as
Mhm.
in the writing community or whatever. And I've been able to sit down with them in a bar and talk about absolutely normal topics that every other writer is talking about because all of us are facing the same thing. So don't think that. And the other thing is go and do things in person as much as possible. This summit is online,
Mhm.
and we are going to get a lot out of being a community online. But there is something to be said about being in person with someone. I know those things are more expensive. I know they involve travel. And for some of you, that is a terrible word to even say out loud. And I totally get that as well. I am travel weary at the moment,
You
but
are.
going to see people in person and just literally sitting down next to them and talking to them makes a huge difference that you don't get the exact same thing virtually. So we're going to get some great stuff virtually, but if you get an opportunity, and there will be times when we do Wayfinder things in person, if you get an opportunity to go to those things, go. Okay,
Yeah.
worth it, worth everything, because it's part of you connecting to other human beings, which is one of the things that we're doing with the summit. One of the things we're going to talk about when it relates to mental health
Mental
and what's
health.
going on
Yeah.
in the world right now.
Right.
So,
So the reason I kind of brought this up in the first place, and I don't want to, I mean, if any of you guys know about this situation and you want to go down a tirade about race and DEI, and I don't
don't
want to,
do it
I don't
here.
want to see it. I don't want to see it in the comments. That's not what this is about. But there's a professor at Cambridge recently that came under criticism because there was quite a bit of information that came out that he had plagiarized some of his work, and then there was just some attacks. I mean, like he
Hmm.
ended up not, and when I say attacks, I mean he was being ridiculed and challenged in the media about things,
Hmm.
and he resigned like 2 weeks ago, and then over the weekend he left this earth of his own free
Yes.
will, I think. I'm speculating, but that's kind of what all thoughts and fingers are pointing that direction. Um, anyway, I feel really, as a human, instantly, of course, if you have any kind of empathy in your life, it doesn't matter if you disagree or agree. We all should feel at least some modicum of like empathy for his family, for the
Hmm.
fact that he got to the point where he felt like that was his only recourse. It's just tragic to me. But one of the things that this is kind of calling calling up for me is this idea that sometimes we get wrapped up in an image that we're trying to create, um, that sometimes puts us in situations that might be tough, and we might even have internal battles where we feel like we're not
Hmm.
who we say we are. We're pretending to be somebody. We have those imposter syndrome situations come up, and I'm speaking from experience. I have imposter syndrome myself. I
Hmm.
get it quite frequently. I think it's actually quite normal in this business to have imposter syndrome. Um, but it's just kind of interesting. So, in conjunction with AI, which is kind of amplifies this feeling, um, I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit about some things that have happened with the AI world and how this might cause some of you who rely on or spend a lot of time on AI to help you write, might cause you to panic. And I want to prevent you from panicking. I want you to prevent your
Yes.
I want to prevent you from feeling like you are at risk of being outed or worse,
Hmm.
seen as a fraud, which I don't feel that way at all. But like it's sometimes I think that like that's the kind of the end of that's like the extreme that might
Hmm.
come
Well,
out from this.
and
So
I
Troy,
think,
can you go ahead. Go ahead and
well,
say what you're gonna say.
what I think is that for the sake of authors' mental health, we need to reframe some conversations. First of all,
Mm-hmm.
we are facing an extreme change in publishing over the next few years,
Mm-hmm.
and that we're kind of in the middle of right now. That
Mm-hmm.
first of all is going to happen, whether we like that or not, whether we're on board or not. It's going to happen, and we as writers need to face that. And the more we can face it together without division, the better off we're going to be. But
Agreed.
right now, we are being divided by topics that should not be dividing us.
I agree.
Right? We need to reframe the conversation, because the absolute one of the worst things that can happen as a writer is for another writer to disparage what you're doing, to call you names, to call you out for doing something they simply don't agree with, whatever the case may be. So we need to reframe that conversation. The other thing that I just want to say at the start, because it was actually really funny, because I said it at the hotel bar this week when some people were having a conversation, and I said, "Hey, do you mind if I interject one thing into your conversation?" Because they were talking about imposter syndrome
Hmm.
related to the things that they do. I said, "Do you mind if I interject one thing into your conversation?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" And I looked at him and the gal had been talking about imposter syndrome, and I said, imposters don't get imposter syndrome. Imposters know that they're imposters and they
Well, it's
know
kind of
they're
like
faking it, and they don't get imposter syndrome.
that's
I think I
kind of
heard
like
this from Becca
narcissists.
Syme or
Narcissists
somebody
don't,
else at
yeah,
the
narcissists
at
don't
the
know
same
that they're
time.
narcissists.
Yeah,
They just
imposters know that imposters know that
imposters.
they're imposters. They know that they're faking it. And we'll talk about this a little more in a minute, but the advice of faking it till you make it only goes so far.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's limits to that, and we'll talk about that. So does the idea of developing a persona that you show online and not showing everything about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
What that means is you show a part of yourself, but you don't lie about who that part of yourself, about
The
who
part
and
that you're
what
not
that part of
showing.
yourself
Yeah. And
is,
you don't
right?
lie about the part that you're not showing either, because I mean, people are good investigators. They'll find
It's a
out.
digital age. People are going to find out. They're going to find out your stuff. So if you're making some outrageous claims, they're going to find out about it. And
Mm-hmm.
if those turn out not to be true, then you're going to you're going to not only face the backlash that's surrounding AI and all the other things and all the typical imposter syndrome, but you're going to face much worse than that.
Right.
And in that case, it means that we've taken good advice and we've taken it a step too far.
Right.
And so we need to really like talk about that. So anyway, so um that's just like setting a little bit of a foundation for you so you can understand kind of where we're going with this. Because this is a it's kind of a tough topic, but AI is really impacting a lot of authors' mental health, and it's causing writer's block, and it's causing all kinds of issues
Mm-hmm.
in the writing community that, like, if we would reframe the discussion, those things wouldn't be happening, or they wouldn't
Right.
have to happen. They
So can
wouldn't
I
have to
ask,
happen.
I ask you to cover a little bit about what this latest like news is about AI and Claude and what's happening with the watermark? Because that's part
Oh,
of this whole thing.
okay. So one of the things that's happening is AI, Claude, Anthropic specifically, and some other AI platforms as well. Suno's doing it with music. I think there's a couple of the image programs that are doing it as well, the image AIs that are doing
Has
it as
Grok
well.
done it yet? Grok is not doing it yet, is it?
I don't think they're doing it yet, but the point is that eventually all of them will have to. And this is why the reason the watermarks are coming out is upcoming legislation in the European Union that says we have to have a way to identify AI content as opposed to human generated content. So it's not saying you can't have it, it's saying there needs to be a way to identify it. What that means for you is that if you create something in Claude, uh, page worth of material, a blog post, whatever the case may be, it will be watermarked with a hidden watermark, but that can be detected that shows that this was created using AI,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, so short pieces of text are very hard to watermark. It's highly unlikely if you copy a sentence from Claude, put it into your manuscript or into your blog post or whatever, that somebody's going to be able to detect that. That's almost a zero chance. But if it's a whole page, if it's a large block of text, it's going to be obvious that that was created with AI because AI basically is going to leave a mark on it that tells people that. So there are some problems with this. For instance, like if you fed your text into Claude and told Claude to edit it, and then you take that output back out of Claude. So this is
It's
one
going
of
to
the
be
reasons that we
watermarked.
don't recommend that you do this. It will be watermarked because Claude is going to say, I created this.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go back later and try to prove that it's not AI, you're actually going to have watermarks all over your work. So one of the things around this, just a quick tip, if you're going to edit with Claude or another AI, do not put your manuscript in and have Claude edit it and send it back out to you. First of all, it's going to introduce mistakes more often than not. Okay, because
It always does. We've
it's a
gone into that
generative
before.
program, so it's going to do something generative. But the second thing is now, of course, it's going to be watermarked. Instead, if you want Claude to edit your manuscript, enter your manuscript and tell it to give you a list of potential edits that need to be done in your manuscript, and then you manually go do those edits. The same as if an editor uses track changes in Word and you go approve and accept or reject their changes. Then you're accepting or rejecting every change, and then AI is not actually in your manuscript. Now, there's other reasons I wouldn't directly upload it to Claude, but that's another discussion for another time that gets real
Mm-hmm.
technical. But in this particular one, this is to avoid, if you want to avoid the AI witch hunt type thing that's going on right now, do not have AI touching your manuscript and doing things to it because
Now,
it's
I will
going
say
to
that
leave a mark.
if you were using Grammarly or Pro Writing Aid or something like that, that is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about
Yeah, those
generative
will not.
AI. Yeah,
We're
it's
talking about
generative
directly in
AI.
generative AI.
Mm-hmm.
If
So
you
go ahead.
and even so, if you use a little snippet of text, which I don't recommend, but the pro
Mm-mm.
writing aid says you should rephrase it this way and you rephrase it that way. Now, I don't recommend that you do
I
that,
don't
but
ever
people do it
recommend you do
all the
that.
time. If you do it, that little snippet of text will not be watermarked. And the reason is pro writing aid is operating through an API and the watermark will not come through the API. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so if you're using a wrapped tool, at least for the moment, at least in theory, there won't be a watermark that comes through with that. So that's a way to insulate yourself and protect yourself. Now,
And these are
the
tools,
thing
by the way,
is,
that editors have been using for years too. So I doubt it's something like that's not typically what this is about, really. That what they're trying to do in
right,
the UK probably is just to prevent or not prevent, but they're trying to distinguish between human content and AI content.
right. And the things, there's some areas where this is already happening
Mm-hmm.
and people don't care. And it's in
Mm-hmm.
areas like coding, right?
Mm-hmm.
Large blocks of code that you create with AI are going to be watermarked. Already, if you dive deeply into that code, which if any of you are coders, this will matter. If you aren't, it doesn't matter. But there are snippets left in there of instructions, usually, that are
Mm-hmm.
left in the code, which is why the code is bloated when it comes out of Claude. And real developers go through and narrow that, they skinny up that code and make it
Tight.
uh, tight and make it work better. So it also makes it faster because it doesn't read those funny instructions each time it tries to execute the code,
Right.
right? So, but that's already happening. But a lot of the companies don't care whether you because they don't know how to code with AI because there's an art to that as well. So they don't care if you use AI or you don't use AI, whatever the case may be, as long as you're producing what they want you to produce for code. Okay. But going to school, learning to code, probably not your best move right now. But anyway, then probably don't get that
That's sad.
software engineering degree. You get a different one. But anyway, but the primary thing is that just AI, we have been able to, as editors, we can hear it a lot of times. If you've used
Oh,
heavily
absolutely.
used generated AI and you have not put in the effort to extremely human edit it, we can hear it, we can see it, we can see it in the way that it writes, and it has its own voice, right? We've talked about that before on this blog, that type of thing.
I'll
What
put
we're
that
talking
one in the
about now,
description.
oh yeah, but what we're talking about now is there will be a physical watermark hidden in the text that you're going to create with AI. And I mean, of course, people are going to come up with ways to remove it that may or may not work.
Yeah. I
But the
mean,
point
who
is
knows?
just part of the point of this is that we're going to get to the point where the primary thing is you as an author just need to be honest about what you're doing.
Right.
And this,
And be okay with it in your own mind. Like be
Mhm.
confident and I guess satisfied with that choice that you make when you choose to use these tools. Because ultimately there are going to be people on both sides of the fence that are going to be like pro and against, and it's it's neither here nor there. You need to decide as an author, this is what I'm choosing to do and this is why, and be okay with that. And also, and furthermore, be okay if you change your mind. Like, this is the other
Mhm.
thing. It's so funny to me when people say, well, I've always been this way and I feel like I changed my mind and I'm like betraying who I, like that idea that you're betraying yourself or betraying, like, honestly, we all learn and grow. And as we learn and grow, our thoughts, feelings, hearts change. And hopefully they're always changing for the better, but it's okay. You're growing as a human, you're growing as an author, you're
Yeah.
growing as a creative. That all changes as you continue to learn and grow. I mean, Troy and I were just talking about, character arc and conflict last podcast, and we talked about how important it is that we're always learning and growing and going through those conflicts and changing as we go through those things, because
Mhm.
it's important to our human experience. So don't beat yourself up. And I know that's so much easier said than done, but just don't beat yourself up when you're when you're going through something or you've decided to make a move and you feel like there's opposition
Mm-hmm.
to that move, that there's always going to be opposition. It's just
Mm-hmm.
the way it is. Whether you think
It's
there's nobody going to be just 100% on your side, not
oh
every,
no,
well, no, I guess this is the other way to phrase this. Not 100% of the people are going to be 100% behind you.
right.
That's,
I
that's,
mean, so part of this too is surrounding yourself with community that feels at least similarly to
yeah.
the way that you feel about things,
Or
right?
can
If
accept you for
you
your decisions.
or accept you for your decisions,
Yeah.
regardless of what that is. If you want to really immerse yourself in using AI as an assistant and being an AI writer, Future Fiction Academy is the place for you
Right.
because that's the kind of writers that gather in that place,
Right.
right? Now, the majority of them are, in my mind, using AI in a way that is creatively ethical and that is very human driven.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of them, but most of them. But whatever community you join, there's going to be some bad apples, right?
Right.
There's going to be some people that are just not in alignment with what the group feels or not in alignment with you. And you just have to be willing to accept that that's part of the price of joining a community,
Right.
right? So however you feel about AI, the primary thing is first of all to be honest with yourself and others. The second thing is to respect other people's right to choose differently than you.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I mean, this is how you have reasonable political and religious discussions,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is that you accept the fact that it's perfectly okay for somebody to feel differently than you. Now, what's not okay is for them to attack you or you to attack them because of those beliefs. This is where the system is kind of breaking down right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is it is there are areas where it is literally when you talk to people, it is nearly impossible to get them to agree to disagree. To simply for you guys to
Right.
say, we can still be friends, but we are going to disagree.
Mm-hmm.
That is in today's world, for some reason, that has become exceptionally hard to do, exceptionally difficult to do. But that's exactly what you need to do. As an
Mm-hmm.
author, you need to have absolute respect for other people that are going to do things differently than you. This happened when word processors came out, and some writers were up in arms.
Troy, did you
Like,
live through that time? Are you that old?
my
You should
back
see the
hurts. I
look.
got to go. It's past my
The look
nap
I'm
time.
getting. Troy, do you
No, no.
remember that
Well, I
time?
mean, seriously though, yeah. I mean, I had a word processor. I had a computer that did nothing but word process, and it had one of those big CRT monitors that
Me
you guys see in
too.
the 1980s movies. Yes, I had that, right? But it was
Oh,
interesting that there was somewhat of a controversy around that time about how it was cheating to use a spell checker. You know how many dyslexic writers I knew at that time? I mean, you know what I mean? Like this is like spelling for them was the last thing, but they were writing great stories, but
can I
spelling was
just
the last thing they could
can
do.
I just say something really quick? I'm gonna be wholly
Oh, do
transparent
it.
right now. I am the worst speller in the entire world, and I'm not dyslexic. But I
Yeah.
remember growing up and my mother saying to me, "What is wrong with you? That is not how you spell dumb." Like, I just remember,
Yeah.
like it was not my forte. Still isn't to this day. I still rely heavily on spell checker to catch me. But I will say this, that is a skill that continues to get better. I increasingly get better
Hmm.
with this skill, but it's because of spell check. It's because spell check underlines it, and it's like taking a spelling test all the time and me getting marked wrong. And we talked about failure and how it. So
Hmm.
over time, I've gotten to be like a pretty good speller, but I still claim the title of worst speller because I want people to understand, like, you don't have to be
Oh
perfect.
no.
And that's what I love about like these tools, is that it's the same thing with using AI. Like, we use these tools to help us get better, and we use these tools to help us learn. And one of the things like that I absolutely love AI for right now is for some of my clients when they can't afford to hire me as a manuscript reviewer, like I'll tell them, hey, just go over to Pro Writing Aid. It's $30 for a manuscript analysis. It's not perfect, but it will point out major issues with your manuscript that you may or may not have thought about. And it will
Mm-hmm.
identify if you have some plot holes. And so it's a really good tool in that regard. And so again, AI is used in that way. It's not going to, like Troy said, it doesn't leave a watermark or anything because it's giving you a report on it reads your manuscript. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
change your manuscript. But that in my opinion is a good use of AI. Like for
Right.
those of you who can't afford to have that human. Now, I'm not saying that takes the place of or replaces the editor. In fact, that's one of the things Pro Writing Aid even puts on there is that this is not going to replace human,
Mm-hmm.
human intervention here or human replies and feedback, but it is a good start. And it oftentimes, when you are an author that can't afford to hire an editor in the beginning and you're just learning, these are tools that you can use to improve your game.
Well, and we talked about this actually this morning, and I have my
Your rug
weekly
room.
rug room meeting. And we were
Mm-hmm.
talking about this because one of the things I was talking about is how I have a new education course planned that
Mm-hmm.
fills in some gaps that no other courses are really talking about, right? And the reason is because either it's too basic or it's too advanced. Everybody talks about the stuff in the middle. Some people are better at talking about it than others, but it's rare to see things talking on either end, on the either end of that spectrum. But so nobody's going to teach you a class on what an inciting incident is. I mean, it's just almost too like that's writing craft 101 books type things,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, but part of it is you need to constantly be working on educating yourself and improving your craft. I am a better speller than I used to be, but I'm still not a great speller. And I didn't even know this was a thing until a few
Oh.
years ago, but I have what's called digital dyslexia. If I see it on the page, I can see that it's spelled wrong. If it's on a screen, I'll flip the letters because of my typing speed, and I won't notice that I flipped the letters. It's weird.
Interesting.
It's a weird thing, right? But okay, so I have that. So it's actually it's something that's easily overcomable. But also the spelling thing, one of the things that I did that I learned from one of my teachers early on is when I saw spell check spelled a word wrong, I didn't just hit accept to that
Yeah, you
change.
type it
I
out.
type it.
I did. That's
Okay.
how I've improved
It's
my
just this
spelling
is a
game. It's
lesson.
weird.
It's one of the things that I've used to improve my spelling
It's one
and
of the
also just
reasons why
improve my craft.
it's one of the reasons why our teachers used to tell us when we would, we'd take that pre spelling check, pre-telling test at the beginning of the week, and then if we got a spelling word wrong, she'd make us write 5 to 10 times that word, and we'd have to
Hmm.
physically write it. The reason is because that physical reaction of you hand to brain, it trained it,
Hmm.
right? It trained you. So
It
it's the
trains your
same thing
brain
here.
what that word
This is one of the reasons why it's a really good
is supposed to be spelled
idea
like.
for when you're typing or when you're getting any kind of feedback from AI and it tells you to do something. It's a really good thing to go in there and fix it yourself, not
Hmm.
not have the AI just accept and change and things like that,
Right.
because it
The
will help
physical
you
kinetic finger movements along with seeing it will solidify it in your brain way more.
way
The other
better.
thing is you will spot mistakes that AI makes by retyping those sentences yourself, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
see, ooh, that is not what I want to do there. That's
Yep.
not what I wanted to do there. Okay, awesome. Now you spotted that before it went to an editor or reviewer. The cleaner you can make your manuscript by the time you get it to a human editor, because you still need a human editor, but the
Mm-hmm.
cleaner your manuscript is by the time you get it to us, the less money you will spend on editors. And also, the more we will like you because you will already have a good foundation for us to work on. Now we can really work on super improving your craft and improving your prose. Because one of the things that I think is going to happen with AI, kind of a side thing, is I think the standard for a good book is going to go up.
Up. Mm-hmm.
Because this is a little history lesson again. Listen, boys and girls, This is what happened in the old days. Okay. So we had gatekeepers called publishers, right? And so to get in with a traditional publisher, in some cases, you had to be lucky, you had to be super persistent. But the other thing that you had to have every time was a really good story. Well, when traditional publishers were the gatekeepers, those stories had to be really good. There was an extremely high standard, at least for a number of years. It's not true that way anymore, but that's a whole different story. But the standard for those was way high. Well, self-publishing came along and this rapid release phenomenon happened. And then there was such thing as a minimum viable product or a minimally viable story,
Right.
right? That if it was a good story, good enough, kind of like we were talking about before, well, how nobody hires me usually to make their story mediocre, right? But there were people that were
Right.
just putting out mediocre stories. They were good, they weren't great. The people that were writing them and releasing them knew they weren't great. They knew they weren't super good, but they knew how to market books and they were making money at it. Well, because of AI, the days of that minimally viable product, that minimally viable story that's just good that you can sell copies of, I think is going to go away pretty
Hmm.
rapidly. Because readers, if they read something that's only good like that, they're going to say, this person must have used AI or whatever because they've created something mediocre.
There are
Okay.
there
Now
are
you
several
know,
reviewers out there right now. The bookish community, the reader community is quite interesting. They're cutthroat, frankly, but they're already doing this. So it really is a good idea for you to just kind of, I don't know, just like again, use AI for the tool, as a tool instead of and use it as a way to improve your skills. We've always been this way with the use of AI. We don't criticize those who choose to use AI to write their books, but we will be very I guess particular about the caution that we extend to those of you who are doing that because of the changes that are happening. And also, and like I said, breaking into the mental health aspect of this, I feel like it does a lot of damage because mentally, I think, I don't know, I feel like this is going to be something that a lot of authors might suffer with is if they've used AI in a greater capacity than they think they have, or if they've used it to write their book and they haven't intervened as extensively or as much as we tell them to, they might feel more, I guess, terrified about being found out. And this idea with Claude
right.
watermarking things might put them into a panic because they might feel like, oh my gosh, there's not going to be a way I'm going to be able to hide this about myself anymore. And
Right.
that worries
And
me.
now
And
I'm
that
going to get caught,
now I'm going to get
you
caught,
know?
right? When there's not even a stigma, really. I mean, there's a stigma, but there's like, what I'm trying to say is there's no penalties. Like you, especially if you're indie publishing, who cares? But my point is like, what one thing that concerns me more than anything is that some of you might mentally be putting yourself into a corner. And that really terrifies
Hmm.
me a little bit. That's, I think, why the our day thing kind of like made me think that because he somehow put himself into this corner where there was no way he was like, he couldn't mentally get himself out of it. And like I said, there was nowhere else. Like that was his ultimatum. Like, I can't get out of this. So there's no other place for me to go.
Hmm.
That is a terrifying, tragic thing for somebody to feel.
Hmm.
Um, and to have that imposter syndrome go so far as to push you into that decision. Um, so that's the last thing I want authors to do. I want you to understand that if you're using AI as a tool to help you become a better writer, you should know that you are not alone, that there are many who do the same thing as you, and you are just utilizing tools that are available to you to help you become a better writer. If you feel like you're using it in a way that is dishonest or against what you feel like is a good decision, then I feel like that at that moment, then you need to have a conversation with yourself. Either you need to come to
Mm-hmm.
terms with how you're using it and understand and know that you can just be accepting of that. But if you're not, if you feel like you're betraying yourself or your readers in some way, maybe at this moment you should take time to actually work on your craft and the way you're doing things so that you don't have this issue going forward, so that you no longer feel this way about
Mm-hmm.
yourself. Because that's my biggest issue, I think, with this whole thing is I worry that some of you might be like having an internal battle in your brain, and that imposter syndrome, the last thing I want it to do is win and make you feel like there's no
Yeah.
other choice that you have. And I'm not a mental health professional. My best friend is, she's a therapist. She works with marriage and family. She's a marriage and family therapist. And we also have another associate that we really know and love that is one of my author's spouses, and she's a forensic therapist. And one of the things that I know that those two are always constantly working on is like our internal dialogue, right? Like what we're
Mm-hmm.
internally telling ourselves. And that is something that you should be working on as an author if you feel in any way, shape, or form that you are betraying your own moral compass in any way.
Mm-hmm. And
That's
there
the
are a
one
lot
thing
of
that I worry about.
resources. There's a lot of
Yeah.
resources out there for this.
Mm-hmm.
Becca Syme talks about it a lot. She has individual coaches that can help you.
Yeah.
Frankly, you can talk to, if you need to, you can talk to me.
Talk
I'm
to a
sure you can
therapist.
talk to Stacey too
Yeah.
about how you feel about this because I have experienced imposter syndrome. I still
Mm-hmm.
do from time to
Mm-hmm.
time. I understand how this works in an author's brain. I understand how dangerous, potentially dangerous it can be. But also I want to offer you just a little bit of hope as Stacey was talking there in that I've often said the book industry follows the publishing industry, follows music industry. We're a little
Right.
bit behind them. Used to be we're about 4 years behind them. Now we're kind of they do something and pretty quickly the publishing world hops on board like, yay, music, we should do it that way. But it's interesting that for a long time, and even still in some circles, AI music is just taboo, right?
Right.
But there are two different types of AI musicians, same as there's different AI authors.
Right.
There are AI musicians who are they write their own lyrics, in large part they write their own music, and they use AI to turn it from what they can do with a guitar and a keyboard in their office into a full musical production because they don't have the
Yeah.
money to go into a studio. Hey, that is really cool. There are people who are now, and then there are people who say, write a diss song about my friend, a diss rap about my friend who has a big nose. And they let Suno write one for him. And if you think that's not real, anyway, but there are people that are doing that, right? They're using AI music to make funny songs up about their friends. They give them to their friends and make them laugh or whatever, and that's just. But there are people that are using it and that are making money on Spotify and other streaming services because they created a professionally produced good song. They've just used AI in that production process. But
Mm-hmm.
they're still writing lyrics, they're still writing music, they're still going through that
There's
process,
still a
right?
human intervention.
So there's a ton in music, the same as we're talking about in novels, there's a ton of human intervention.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are there listeners and people who will come and attack those people for using AI?
Yep.
Absolutely. But here's what happens when they out them for using AI. Nothing. Because if people think it's a good song, they just listen to it. Now, here's the thing. If you're cranking out garbage songs on Suno, 20 songs a day or whatever your limit is, and you're just cranking out a bunch of crappy songs and putting them somewhere to sell them, they're not going to sell, and you're going to get lambasted for being an AI musician because you're not putting in the human work. So, kind of the lesson is as long as you're putting in the human work, what really matters in publishing is that you created a good story. If you used AI to help you create the outline or get you unstuck from writer's block or whatever for part of that story, The reader in the long run isn't going to care as long as you have created a good story, right? The
Mm-hmm.
problem is when people start looking twice at stories, it's because there's AI tells, because part of the story isn't that good. Listen, if you have a good story, people will read right past your typos. Usually, if
Yeah,
somebody
it's
emails
not
you and
about
points
that.
out that you have a typo, what it means is in that part of the story, you didn't have them so absorbed that they didn't notice the typo. If the writing in that part of the story had been good enough, they would have never seen it. I mean, most people, there's those readers that go and just like to pick at things. I mean, that's different.
Well,
But
and
your
here's
average
here's
reader
another
won't,
and here's
you
another
know?
idea that maybe I don't know, maybe some of you forgot about this. But even just 5 years ago, we didn't have AI writing like this, right? Like this is very, very, very new, right?
Hmm.
So about oh gosh, it was probably about 6 years ago or so, I was part of a book club and it was really kind of funny. We would read, oh, gosh, these women. One who kind of led this whole revival was she's now passed away. So I feel like I can say this, and she's not going to hear this, but or maybe she is, and I'm going to get struck by lightning. Either way, this woman, like literally, it drove me crazy because every book she picked was like a World War II women's lib novel, and it drove me crazy. I was like, can we read something else? I don't know, like I don't know. Can
Hmm.
we read a mystery or, oh, well, they have bad words in them? And I was like, oh my gosh, for shit's sake. Like, I
Yeah.
was so mad. I was like, can we just get past this? But one of the things that I always noticed in these book clubs when we would have these conversations is that we all had very different perspectives on a book, on a feeling, whether we thought it was good or we
Hmm.
didn't, right? I had a much different perspective because a lot of times I was going in and it was really tough for me to turn off the editor lens. So I'm looking at
Hmm.
character arc and I'm looking at like how many main characters we have and if they fully achieve like their arc and if we're left dangling and where's the midpoint, did it happen at the right point, like so I'm always looking at kind of these things. And so when I would come into these things, I was like, I would lean back and I would just listen because it would blow me away when I would sit there and go, well, this is a shit novel. And there would like be six women in there going, oh my gosh, this is the best thing I've ever read. And I would have to sit there and keep my mouth shut because I wanted to hear why. Why did you think
Hmm.
this was so good? 100% of the time, it was because they related in some way to the characters in that story in one way or another.
Yep.
That's something to be said for the different ways that all of you write. And what's one critique or one person may think about your novel doesn't mean that it's going to make or break your novel. It doesn't mean that because one person didn't like it that your novel stank and then you should just chuck it in the bin. That's not what that means. And so
Mm-mm.
what I think the thing is it kind of like rings true and goes back to what we were talking about a few weeks ago, Troy, when we were talking about like when you receive a critique from an editor, you need to kind of have a tough skin. This is the
Hmm.
same thing. I think that understanding that you're evolving as a writer each time you write a new book. Every writer does this. I don't care if you're Dan Brown, James Patterson, Stephen King, or if you're just, Joe Schmo from down the street. Every time you write something new, you evolve as a writer and you can get better
Hmm.
and better and better and better. And case in point, I have a client that I read a flash fiction for her this last weekend, and I edited her novel back in 20. It was 2023, so it feels like it was a lot longer than that. Anyway, so it was a while ago that I read her novel and helped her with that. I didn't get to edit her novel, but I kind of like because she couldn't afford me, but she wanted me to help her publish it. So in the formatting stage and everything, you still kind of like get glimpses.
Hmm.
Seeing her story crafting skills from that to the flash fiction I read this weekend, it has much improved. Is she great? No, we still had some work to do. In fact, I
Yeah.
told her to kind of like, here are some things that I recommend with your flash fiction. And she was like, okay. So, it's like one of the things that I told her and that I'm going to tell all of you is that, um, slow down. Like, and we've talked about this
Hmm.
too. Johnny Truant's talked about this. We've talked about how important it is to just kind of take time to really hone your craft. I think that this also is a testament that people were using AI to kind of like really speed up and kind of like
Hmm.
increase their productivity and put more out there really quick. And when I told this author, slow down, take the time that you need to really create and learn how to improve your craft, that was the first thing she pointed out to me when she wrote back to me is like, thank you. I think you're right. I think I need to kind of just like
Hmm.
take a minute and kind of like take a step back and take some time. And she's right. And I think that more of you need that advice. I think more of you need to realize that quit trying to put out crap fast because you think you have to put it out right
Well,
now
yeah.
because there's a race of some kind that you think you're running.
No,
It's
there's no
better that
race.
there's no race. It's a lie.
No.
You're not up against anybody. You're not competing against anybody. Who you're competing against is actually you. And what you really need to do is ask yourself, is this the best work that I want? Is this the best I can do for this work right now? And if that is what you're, if the answer is yes, okay, then you can move into the next phase of
Right.
editing, revision, whatever. But if you feel like, nah, that's subpar, I could probably do better, then start over, revise, do something else. Take the time to do what it takes to make a quality product because you're asking people to purchase a book. And right now, if they're buying print, they're spending anywhere from $20 to $60 if you're getting, hardcovers out there for a book because paper
Hmm.
is so freaking expensive. Well, if you're going to ask somebody to spend that kind of money on a product, make sure the story is good because
Right.
they're paying the money.
Here's the thing that's so for a long time, publishing was always about quality
Mhm.
over quantity. Those
Always.
two kind of need to exist in balance for you
Mhm.
to have a reasonable career, right?
Right.
Is you can't keep working on something over and over and over and over again for 10 years and not write other things. You're going to have a hard time surviving as far as making a living or whatever in the publishing
Right.
industry. But you also don't need to crank out a book every month or every 6 weeks. First of all, what happens is you end up exhausting your audience. Your audience
Right.
can't even keep up with just reading your books. And most of them also want to read other people's
Other
books.
books. Mhm.
So you're not giving them the opportunity to, to just breathe
I
between
think that's
books,
what happened
you
with the
know?
Marvel universe, the whole Marvel movie thing. I think that they were just lambasting us with Marvel movies constantly, right? Left and right, left and right. They never gave
But the
us a chance
quality
to really
was
believe.
down.
And the quality went down, and people got tired of the damn Marvel universe. I know I did.
Hmm.
I got fed up. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Right,
another TV series with the Marvel universe? Stop it already. Can we write something
right.
original? Like,
Well,
and
because we want variety, the
we want
Hollywood
variety.
remaking things, stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
is like there's been a large rise in the indie film industry, which is another thing we could talk about, where but where something that's unique that stands out. I mean, I know I've used it before, I'll use it again. Dungeon Crawler Carl is a
I know.
primary example of something that crosses genres, crosses cultural lines, and gets people reading and audiobook listening to something that is really normally outside their wheelhouse because it's an outlier.
Mm-hmm.
It's different. It's original. Now, I tried to get my partner Holly to listen to Dungeon Crawler Carl
And
on a road trip, um, and that didn't work out for her. She was really not interested. I mean, there were some funny parts that she, for those of you who have listened, new achievement, and she was like, that was kind of funny, but she didn't the whole rest of it. So at least now, when those the rest of us in the family that are listening to that, then she at
She
least
kind of checks
understands
out.
what we're talking about.
Oh,
But
okay, gotcha. Yeah.
she understands the context of new achievement. But if we're talking details of the book, like she doesn't really, that it's
She's
just
not
not her
interested.
jam. It's not
Yeah.
her thing, right? But a huge number of people who would not normally be interested in lit RPG and that type of book are listening to it, partly because he's
Yeah.
got a
My
great
best friend is
audiobook
one of
narrator,
them. And she's
but
like
also because the books
book
are actually
seven.
just really good. He tackles some deep and interesting topics in a totally different and outlier type of way. Well, like we've talked about on this podcast before, the CEO of Macmillan gets on the huge, long YouTube interview. Listen to all of it, but listen especially to the part when they're like, "What are you looking for?" We're looking for outliers. We're looking for things that are different, and we're seeing a rush of AI things that are similar. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
all leaning towards the mean, and they're all similar because of the way AI works and the information that it's been fed and the literature that it's been fed, right? And so there's all kinds of, I mean, and there's all kinds of negatives too. Don't get me wrong, and I don't want to go down that road of things, right? Other than to simply say the human connection and the human touch is the thing that is going to matter
And you've said
more
that
than
from the
other things
very
going
onset
forward.
of this whole,
From the
like
start,
from the start, we've always said that.
publishers are looking for it. Readers are
Mhm.
looking for it. Other writers are looking for it. Is that human connection? Now, can you do that if you are using AI as a co-writer and assistant?
Yes.
Yes, you can. It's the same as anything else, though. What I loved was like Steph Pajonas, I think it was. I was looking at some of her stuff. And one of the things she said, getting AI to produce what I want and what sounds like me is hard work. It
Mhm.
takes a long time. She's not using AI. She's using AI because she has physical and mental difficulties and
Mhm.
health challenges, and she's using AI to help her overcome those challenges. But she still freely says, this is not a magic bullet. This is not an easy solution. This takes time and effort and energy. And in fact, getting AI to produce the things that you want that sound like you is an actual skill, like
Mhm.
typing, like dictation, like any other kind of skill that you would use for writing. Now, I don't know everything involved in those skills because I'm not using it in that way, right? But to recognize it as a skill and the fact that it's still hard work to produce that work creatively, I'm actually perfectly willing to ride along with that because I know that I know from other things that I've done with AI that it's hard work.
I also
Like
know
there
as
is
an
no simple
editor
solution,
what's
you know?
involved in editing something that's produced by AI. There is a lot
Mm-hmm.
of work involved in that. So
Mm-hmm.
like I do understand and appreciate when somebody is fully involved in all of those stages and steps when they're producing something, because it's a lot of work, and
Right.
it's not
Before
something to
you ever,
scoff at.
we just make a blanket statement that maybe I'll regret later, maybe I won't. But if you're if you are using AI as a co-writer, there is much of that work that you should do before you ever hand it to an editor.
Oh yeah,
Unless you also are an author with just lots of money and you want
just
somebody to
lots,
do that
yeah,
hard work for you.
lots of
Because
money.
we are going to charge you
We're gonna charge
appropriately
you.
if it takes us extra time,
And
right? And I mean, this is
I
just,
will say this, it really does. It actually does take extra time because not only am
mm-hmm,
I trying to force out like all the normal mistakes that are thrown in there. Believe it or not, believe it or not, guys, AI is not perfect. In fact, it is probably a mediocre at best editor. But I will also say that I'm trying to find and discover your voice through the
mm-hmm,
mess. And that is sometimes very difficult to do, especially if you've used AI to significantly write your book. Now, if you have just used it for certain, like Troy said, certain aspects, or maybe just you've gone in and you've had it draft an outline and then you've gone in and write, pay that's
mm-hmm,
cake compared to like the latter.
right.
But I feel like a lot of you need to understand and know that the stigma that people attach to AI in general um, that's where I'm like, where you mentally need to kind of
Hmm.
reconcile in your brains what you're doing.
Well, and also reconcile the fact that here's the thing: not everyone, not every reader is so vehemently anti AI that they're going to cancel you. Now,
That's true
what's
too.
happening right now, though, is there is this vocal group of anti
Oh,
AI readers that's scanning the internet
and it's
looking
scary.
for
It's
stuff that they
so
think
scary.
it's so scary. But what's scariest about it is those readers, because of how vocal they are, have publishers running scared too.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are looking for a traditional deal, I will tell you right now that at least at this moment, the history may show that, and this probably will change. So I wanted to make this very conditional because it probably will change. But at this moment, if you are using AI significantly in the creation of your work, do not submit to a traditional publisher without being fully transparent about exactly how you used AI in your
Yeah.
process.
And
Because
this
there's a
is,
guy that just had a $2 million deal
oh yeah, I just
canceled.
saw that. I
And
just saw
and
that.
listen, here's the thing. I think, first of all, I think that guy's going to sue and win. But I also think that in the latter stages of his project, when AI had come along, he may have used AI to aid him in some revisions and editing, and that may have crept enough into his prose that his agent, who's the one that canceled the deal, that his agent said, we can't go forward with this. It wasn't even the publisher that canceled the deal. Again, I think the guy's going to sue. I think he's going to win because I think he has proof of early drafts before AI was even a thing, so that he has emailed to himself, all that kind of stuff.
I'll
So
say
I
this
think he'll
too.
win something, but
That's
I
one of the
also think that forever now, his reputation has been
tarnished.
not even necessarily tarnished, but just he's going to have a hard time now. He'll probably do
It's
great if he
tarnished.
self publishes because he had a good story. But if he tries to get another deal with another publisher on
That's what I
another
mean.
work, even he's going to have an
It's
exceptionally
going to have a
difficult
hard
time
time.
because he's going to be known as that guy.
That guy. And then also that guy that sued and won. Nobody else likes being
Exactly.
sued.
Nobody else
Um,
wants to be sued. Yeah,
yeah.
that's for
But I
sure.
will say that I will say this. Kind of tying back to the whole like, thing. We talked about the shy girl thing a couple years, couple
Hmm.
years, like a few months
A
back
couple
right
years.
now.
Yeah. A
Gosh.
few months now ago
Few
now.
months. It
Yeah.
feels like a year ago. But anyway, we talked about shy girl and there's a lot that's happened since then. I mean, the thing that's interesting about
Hmm.
this AI debate is it is still so new that
Hmm.
it is rapidly changing. Like it is like from day to day to day to day to day it changes. And I think that like I said, a lot of you it's a good idea not to react
Hmm.
because there's a lot of media out there. I mean, I know in our own author community, there's a lot of media out there where people will post something and it is a reaction and it is a like we have to, do
Hmm.
something right now and it's a title or a headline that like ignites this feeling of anxiety and this feeling
Designed to click.
right
Yeah.
yeah and
Ugh.
like honestly guys like slow down just slow down and realize that often things will change within a week of
Hmm.
things happening. So there are things that Troy and I warn you about in terms of like, how Claude's coming down with this. Okay, how do we deal with that? Let's not panic. Let's not go, oh, I have to stop using
Hmm.
Claude or I have to stop using AI altogether. Wait, wait, wait. Slow down. Slow
Patience.
down. Patience. Scale it back.
Okay.
Take a
And I
Xanax.
want to give you, I want to give you some practical
Yeah, let's give them some
advice,
practical
like
advice.
some practical, concrete advice about
Good.
things to do. So recently, and like this guy that I've been following, this business guy, he made a statement, and immediately I thought of publishing as soon
Mm-hmm.
as he said it. And here's the two things that anyone that is going to be successful in business and in other things like it, right, is going to have in common. You're going to have patience. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to understand that there's no easy button, there's no quick route. Good things come to those who wait. And you're going to have focus. Okay. So, as a writer, first of all, have patience.
Mm-hmm.
Publishing is evolving right now. We don't even know what it's going to look like in the next 6 months. Probably by the end of the next 2 years, publishing will have solidified into something completely new. In my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
traditional publishers will have lost even more ground than they've lost already. Okay. That's my
Probably.
personal
Mm-hmm.
opinion. Okay. Now I'm not a prophet, so I could be wrong, but I'm going to be patient and find out rather than having an immediate reaction. Okay. The second thing with patience is have patience with yourself. Okay. You are not going to create a great book by writing a draft as quickly as possible, editing as quickly as possible, finding the cheapest, fastest editor you can find, having them create it as fast as possible, and getting that to market with the cover you can create as fast as possible. This is not an efficiency game. Publishing is a chaotic industry that is success is heavily dependent upon quality.
Right.
Okay. It's not 100% dependent upon quality, but the weight towards quality is now shifting back to where success is much more dependent upon quality than it was even 6 months ago.
Nothing's
So,
100% dependent on quality. Otherwise,
so
home goods wouldn't be out of business.
right, exactly. Exactly. And Timu, I would never click on that app, even accidentally on Facebook.
On that app
Timu,
accidentally
get
all
out of
the
my feed.
time.
Get out of my feed, Timu. I don't need you there. Okay. But anyway, but
So
so
funny.
it's very much related to quality. Okay. So focus. What should we be focused on? Not the next AI trend.
No.
Okay. AI is a tool, and I have rules. I've told many of you this, my rules for using AI, right? They're very, very simple rules. Is it either saves me time or makes me money? And I don't mean save me time in writing prose. I mean save me time so I can spend more time on writing.
Writing prose. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Exactly.
that's me. I don't want it to save me time on writing prose. I want it to save me time in other aspects of my life. I want a smart washer that somehow has just a thing that comes over my hamper and sucks up the appropriate clothing into a load, and it goes through a tube throughout my house, deposits in the washer, it starts up on its own, tosses the stuff in the dryer, and then there's a little
You
robot
know,
out there that just does a little foldy and hangy hang, right? And
yeah.
then I don't have to do that, right? So that means I can write more. That's the kind of AI I want. Okay, so engineers out there, if you're listening, give me the automatic wash a doodle thing. If
Oh my
I'm
gosh,
good
it
with
was so
that.
funny today. I dragged him into an Ashley furniture store. I was like,
Mm,
believe it or not,
mm.
I was like looking for
Everybody,
inspiration
thoughts
on.
and prayers for William. Thoughts and prayers for William right now. Bless that
Well,
man. Okay, go ahead.
we walked in there because I wanted to see if I could find some like inspiration for our event center, right? Like so I was like looking
Hmm.
at like certain furniture setups for like how we would want to do our lobby, right? So I was
Yeah,
looking at that. So I was
comfortable
like,
couches.
yeah, well, comfortable, but also like in a modular kind of way because I love the idea of
Hmm.
like the way that we had the couches set up at Author Nation last year. I was like, I want to
Yeah.
do that only kind of a little even bigger. So I was like looking at stuff like that. So anyway, I was walking through, and as I was walking through, he made a comment about something about dusting because there was this really cool coffee table, and I was like, oh my gosh, that coffee table is so cool. And my husband goes, ugh. It's a dust magnet, right? Because that's my husband and practical.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. And I hate dusting. It's my least favorite chore. Like, I hate it.
Oh,
So I was like, oh, that's going to be a dust. You're right. Until I get a robot that dusts for me, I guess I'm not going to get that.
in our house, I am the duster. This is my dusting mitt. You need a dusting mitt because it
I
turns it into a game.
hate
Anyway,
dusting. Hate it.
oh,
So anyway,
anyway,
I
but
just
yeah,
dusted our laundry room this morning. But anyway, so I was like, yeah, you're right. And so I'm just out loud, I'm like, I have a robot that vacuums for me. Until I have a robot that can go around and dust for me, I am not going to get that coffee table. The manager of the store, she looks over at me and she goes, "Oh, you should invent that." And I said, "Oh, I'm not that smart. Like somebody else
yeah,
is going to have to invent that and I'll buy it."
yes.
So if you're
Elon,
out
when
there
you're
and you're smart enough to invent a dusting robot, let me know
exactly
when you get that on
Elon
the
listening
market.
to this podcast, your first humanoid robot,
Get that out
I
on the market, please. I would
get that
really
on the
appreciate it.
market. I really want it, but you know what I mean? Like, this is the thing. Okay. So we as authors, we don't want to focus on the next AI trend. We want to focus on writing the best stories
Writing
we
the
can
best stories. And Troy,
because
you're going to
creating a great story is that's where
that's
it's at.
vital. And it's always
That's
been
where it's
vital.
at.
It's always been vital. This has never changed.
This is
Writing
not
a great
new.
story is not new. This is something that's always driven this industry. Troy's about to like embark on putting together his story. What are you going to call it? Your story
I think my temporary name is Novel Writing
novel
University.
writing
Um,
university.
it's 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 probably not exactly. And gosh,
Oh, sorry. I
I
didn't
want
mean
to
to break your brain.
explain.
I didn't
Well, no,
want,
no.
yeah.
I the thing is, I want to explain like what this actually means because it's not some like formulaic thing of like you got to follow this style or this thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
teaching you actually how to write a novel so that those people who are brand new, beginning,
Mm-hmm.
who because I'm seeing clients of mine that are retired and they've written stuff like business papers and technical writing their whole lives, never written a novel, and they send me their first draft and I say, well, you're missing an inciting incident. And they go, what is an inciting
Well,
incident?
and yeah, and
And they have
that's
no
just
idea how to write dialogue, and things
the
like that.
last two reviews that I've done too. It's like the big reviews. It's like they're missing the
Some
timing. Like
key some
yeah,
key
like they don't
elements,
have a
but like
midpoint,
the
things like
one
that.
one guy went and I said, okay, you're missing your inciting incident. He goes, what's an inciting incident?
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, but we need to go back to a little bit of the basics there, right? And get you on board. But also, the other thing that's missing in the writing industry, in my personal opinion, is advanced writing classes.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been writing for years, you're doing well. And I go, you know how we can take you to the next level? Let's look at semiotics and
Yeah.
language. Or let's look at character roles and functions. Or let's look at stories from the top as far as like kind, type, and then genre. Stuff that for
Mm-hmm.
most new writers would make their head just because they don't
Explode.
know enough
Yeah.
about story to
And they'd
do
be
that.
like, "What are you talking
But
about?"
that often as an advanced writer, when you've been doing it for years, there's not something out there outside of MFA programs and stuff like that that gives you just some fun advanced classes that can help you just tweak your prose just a little bit and take it to the
Mm-hmm.
next level. So that's really what that's for. But part of it is a reaction to this perception that I have that writing great stories is going to be more important than it ever has been because the floor for a good story is going to go up.
Yeah.
The definition of a good story is going to come up a notch. And so what you released before that was good and that kind of made it isn't going to make it anymore. It isn't going to cut it anymore.
Right.
That's
But
my
also,
feeling.
yeah. And
So,
I mean, and bring this around full circle again. This is the whole reason we want to do this is because we want authors to feel supported. We don't want them to feel attacked. We want them to feel like they're part of a community. We want them to feel like they're connected. We want them to feel like they're never backed into a corner. Like if they get to the point where they feel like, okay, wait,
mhm,
I don't understand this, there's no stigma attached with wanting to go find out or learn or grow and
mhm.
understand that they're, moving forward. Um, I feel like that's
Yeah.
how we're going to
we
help this
we want to
community
give you
stay healthy.
confidence. I
Yeah.
want to give you confidence in who you are and what you're doing, and whether that involves AI or not should not shake your confidence that you are doing your best and what's best for you to produce a great story that's going to be entertaining, that people are going to love, all of that type of stuff. So, but as an author, you do have to have a certain amount of confidence in your story. Because I can tell you from experience, it's really difficult to market a book you're not confident about.
Right. But it also feels
you
very,
know.
very you're better able to feel confident when you know you put the work in and
Hmm.
when you don't feel like you've cheated yourself. And that's what I want to make sure all of you guys are avoiding. I don't want you to feel like you're cheating yourself or that you're being betraying yourself in some way or another, or that you're cheating
Hmm.
in some way. I want you to feel like you're doing what you need to become a better writer.
Hmm. And like
So
our
ultimate
shirts say, progress over perfection.
progress over
I mean,
perfection.
come on the
Mm-hmm.
journey with us. We're all on a journey, right? Just come on
Mm-hmm.
the journey with us. We're all going the same direction. Let's just do it and stop fighting along the way.
Yeah,
Stop
exactly.
fighting along the
Exactly.
way.
It's not
Stupid.
worth it. It's stupid. But anyway, yeah. So I appreciate all of you guys for sticking it out with us today. We are going to be in Killer Nashville. If you are in the area and you plan to attend that conference, find us. We'll be in some hallway. I
Mm.
don't know. This will be our first
Yeah,
time
this will
attending, so
air
we
on
don't know.
Saturday, so that means if you're going to be in Nashville today,
Yeah. Come
we
see
will
us.
be there.
We will
Come
be
and see
there.
us.
But yeah, we're kind of excited. And then if you are interested in checking out Wayfinder Summit, we are happy to have you on board. We are very excited about Wayfinder. So we're hoping that this is something we can grow and continue to do. Troy and I even talked about doing maybe satellite destinations where he and I will go to your city and hold a Wayfinder Summit in your city. So
Hmm.
we're thinking about just things that we can do to help, again, connect the reader communities and help people feel like they're part of a
Hmm.
larger group. And yeah, so if you have suggestions or you have questions about that, you can go hit us up at Wayfinder Summit. There is a frequently asked questions section
Hmm.
in Wayfinder, so if you have any questions, there's a lot of, like, I hopefully I've answered a lot
There's
of
a lot
questions in
of
there.
there's a lot of answers. If we haven't answered them all, please feel free to
Yeah.
contact us. We'll put up some video tutorials of how to find things on the site, things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Because we
But
know
it's
for some of you, Hey Summit is a new thing, the
yeah.
program that we're using to hold this particular summit. But just know that the reason that we're doing this is because we care about you as an
Yeah,
author, and we
ultimately
care
this is
about your story,
100%.
and we want you to be
We want you to
happy
succeed
and
and
healthy
happy.
as an author.
Exactly.
So,
We want you to have a good time doing this job because it's
mhm.
it's tough enough without
Otherwise, there's
being
better
strong.
things you can do. If you're not
Yeah.
having fun doing this, I mean, there are some other things you can probably go do.
Probably take up some
But
golf.
but if you love this, I mean, if you're like me and you love this and you can't see yourself doing anything else, then my goodness, just come along for
Just
the
come
ride.
along.
It's going
Yeah.
to be wild. I can promise you that. It's not all going to be sunshine and roses, but
But
we're
we're here
going to have
for
a
it.
good time.
We're here for it.
We're here for
Ups
all
and
of it.
downs. Yeah, we're here for all of it. So again, thanks again for following us. If you haven't already liked, subscribed, and followed, please let us know if we're, you know, doing what you need us to do. If you have a topic that you would like us to cover, if you've been in our comment section, you know that we do take those suggestions and we do talk about those things. So if you have something that you're specifically struggling with or that you would like to see us kind of hit as far as a topic, let us know. We're happy to cover that. Again, we'll be in Las Vegas as well in at Author
In
Nation
November,
in
Author Nation.
November. So, and then Becca Syme will be traveling to Boise for a satellite kind of thing as well in October, first week of October. So, if you are going to be in the Boise area and you want to visit with us and Becca Syme in person, that will be then, and I'm really excited about that actually. So, hopefully, we can get a lot of people to come to that. But anyway, yeah, let us know if there's anything you need, and in the meantime, you can keep writing. Be kind. My mom always comes out when I say that. Be kind or leave. And then,
Stay
stay weird.
weird.
Stay weird. Okay. Everyone, we'll talk to you later.
Thanks everyone for joining us. See ya.
Bye.